So deciding on game 3. The difficulty on the Grixis side is landing threats. Jeskai plays more removal than Grixis plays threats.
Right, so the way that Death Shadow is trying to win this match is generally going to be through picking their spots and through winning on mana advantage rather than on card advantage or raw card power.
Sure. The Grixis Shadow deck, the mana curve of it is the selling point here. You get 1 mana 5/5s, 1 mana 8/8s, and 1 mana negates.
Exactly. The draw to Grixis Shadow is when it's firing on all cylinders, it just feels like a legacy deck.
Yeah. And here we'll go for game number 3. A copy of Search for Azcanta in the opener for Sukenik. His first decision is whether or not he's willing to expose that to Stubborn Denial, and it looks like he is not. He'll just pass.
Yeah, there's not really a huge reason for Sukenik to have to act here. He can just play patiently, and he's avoiding one of those Gurmag Angler scenarios we talked about earlier where, we have the Thought Scour here, and we see an Angler in Yard, but if he just has a Faithless Looting or another Scour, he could stick a 5/5 on turn 2.
End step Thought Scour there from Kessler. 4 cards in graveyard right now. Shocks down to 15, and he's going to try for Collective Brutality.
This is the kind of thing where, even if it's not a great card, it forces action.
Right, and looks like in response, a Lightning Helix from Sukenik, and that was his only instant or sorcery. We look at the hand, it's 3 more lands, Snapcaster Mage, and Search for Azcanta. This
is a nice bluff. The drawback to this is it is doing some of Kessler's work for him.
Right, it's not clear that dealing 3 damage to Kessler is an upside.
Right, this is the pay 11 life tempo deck, and you just paid some of their life for them.
Right.
It being a Lightning Helix does offset that a little bit, since you just get to gain the 3 life back anyway.
So there's an argument for just letting him take it?
Exactly.
What Sukenik will do is take this window to make Search for Azcanta and the Celestial Colonnade.
Right, and the reason that we see this happening is Sukenik just wanted to be positive that this card doesn't get Stubborn Denial, because like we were saying before, if he gets the time to do Search for Azcanta things, he's not going to lose.
Kessler has a threat here. Young Pyromancer's the play, follows it up with Serum Visions, gets his first elemental token. He knows right now there's no removal just yet.
Oh, exactly, and is likely fairly confident it's going to die to the Snapcaster Mage on the following turn.
And that is going to be the play. Snapcaster on Lightning Helix. Sukenik will go to 23. That turn, Hieroglyphic Illumination was the draw, and Sukenik chooses to keep it here.
Right, so that Hieroglyphic Illumination is always going to be worth 2 cards, but the longer that Young Pyromancer stays in play, the more cards that it's worth. So it kind of makes Sukenik's decision for him.
Tom going to try to reload. It's an escalated Collective Brutality. So he kills Young Pyromancer and takes an instant. That's going to be Path to Exile. Let's kind of keep the Hieroglyphic Illuminations and attacks in for 1.
See, and this is pretty close. This is the epitome of how decision-making works with this deck.
Yeah.
Kessler realizes that random cards aren't what matters from Sukenik. Kessler is going to lose on the card advantage front. It's trying to control the specific cards that Sukenik has access to.
Right, so the opponent on so few cards, there's a temptation to take their draw to.
Exactly. You kind of get caught up with grinding. Oh, I can take 1 card or I can take 2 cards, but Path is way more important than, say, a land and a bolt.
Right, because Tom has a Death Shadow in his hand right now, and Path is an answer to that right now, so he's playing for the shorter game.
Exactly, and Hieroglyphic Illumination takes almost an entire turn from Sukenik in order to resolve.
Shock here for Sukenik. Going to cast the Illumination. The shocking here before making this play is interesting. It either means he changed his mind or he has something specific.
Yeah, he's likely just drawing to another path here, or he already had a path in his hand.
Okay. He does have, and his land was Steam Vents. So it's actually a really unique, you can almost read that, right? If your opponent shocks here for Steam Vents and says go and leaves up Colonnade, that's just a hard read for Path to Exile, isn't it?
Right. It also might just look to it like Kessler as if Sukenik was drawing to Path to Exile and didn't have it previously.
Okay.
So it's almost a little bit of signaling.
Upkeep goes for the Path to check on Stubborn Denial, and there is not one there, so Death Shadow gone. Tom gets a land. And now Sukenik at 20. He's only facing 1 damage. And those cards in graveyard, looking at that search for Escana, they're starting to pile up.
And the other side of things is Sukenik maybe just value the hieroglyphic illumination higher than the path.
Yeah.
He's at 20 life.
If he had a second path, I think that's absolutely true.
Exactly.
A swing for 1 puts Sukenik to 19. He's got a Electrolyze and looks like a Field of Ruin in hand. This is setting up nicely.
This Celestial Colonnade on Sukenik's side of the table can kill Kessler almost before the Ascana flips.
Yeah, I'm interested in that to see whether he'll go for it. You see 1 and 1 from the Electrolyze. Because there is that dilemma where you don't want to get Grixis Shadow too low.
This is nice. We see Sukenik just kind of taking this Electrolyze to Kessler to say, all right, I'm going to flip Ascanta right now. I don't care what the top card of my deck is. It's going to go ahead and turn my Ascanta into a quote-unquote real card.
Right, it transformed to Ascanta, the Sunken Ruin. Jonathan has the land and now has the mana to activate Ascanta. This was the game plan all along.
Exactly, and picking up a Cryptic Command off that card is really just kind of turning the corner almost for Sukenik here.
Yeah, he has the mana for it. So Kessler's going to try to rebuild, but he is running out of time. He'll start with Faithless Looting, dress into Stubborn Denial and Thoughtseize.
That could be a nice power play to get out from under this Cryptic Command. If you say lead on the Thoughtseize, Sukenik goes to Cryptic, you Stubborn the Cryptic, etc.
Try to get rid of some extra land there. Just has to pass. Now Sukenik going to start activating that Sunken Ruin. Top 4. And there are options. A Logic Knot, and that's what he's going to go ahead and grab.
Yeah, we're kind of watching the light at the end of the tunnel get brighter and brighter here. Because at this point, Kessler has to cast 3 consecutive meaningful spells that are not instants now that Sukenik also has a Dispel in his hand. How many relevant spells can Kessler actually draw? And
I like this from Jonathan. He could go for the Colonnade, but if there were a card like Dismember in Kessler's hand, he'd get punished. And with Active Ascanta, why do anything here?
Oh, exactly.
Right?
See, there's this saying where, you don't, as long as you don't lose, you'll win.
Yeah, and Kessler's just hasn't shown a way that he's going to win yet.
Exactly, and Sukenik on 6 mana, that's all the mana he needs for this Cryptic into Logic Knot with Dispel backup line.
Faithless Looting is flashed back for Kessler, discarding Stubborn Denial, and another Faithless Looting passes. Sukenik is going to Field of Ruin away one of Kessler's lands, taking him off red mana.
Oh yeah, and it maybe Kessler's doesn't even have any more basics, so this is just an upgraded Strip Mine for Sukenik.
Gets the land. Now is a choice between an Ascanta or maybe firing off that Lightning Helix.
Big fan of the Ascanta here. Draw more cards, don't die, and you'll win. Don't worry about winning.
There'll be time to cast that Lightning Helix.
Exactly. Kessler he looks so alive. You might as well just make sure you stick around. Kessler looks real happy being alive. You should hang out with him for a bit.
Hieroglyphic from Jonathan, and not even cycling it.
I mean, we have 1 million lands.
Draws another Hieroglyphic, says go. Remember, full play set of Hieroglyphic Illuminations in Jonathan's deck.
Oh, I really enjoy just the, yeah, there we go.
Wow. And the sports sheet from time to Thoughtseize, Jonathan shows him the hand, and Jonathan says, I've had enough. I'm not beating that.